All right, super excited for the launch of Wasabi flavored popcorn and Oppo Pop. And today we're going to do a really great sake pairing. So welcome, come on in.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're so excited to do this sake pairing. Please lead the way.
Right. Yes, ma'am. So let me do that. So hi, everybody. My name is Wasabi, and I am a professional sake sommelier. And hopefully, I can take you through the sake journey a little bit and talk about the wasabi popcorn pairing.
Awesome, perfect.
Awesome. So let me start by just talk a little bit about what sake is, right? First. And Tori, don't worry, we'll be cheering in just a minute. So get that sake ready for me, all right?
Perfect.
Good. So today's topic, how to drink sake like a pro and pair with the best popcorn of all time. So let's get started. Before I jump into anything, just a little bit of introduction of myself. I call myself Wasabi, surprising, but that's not my real name. That was my nickname when I was in US. But I like my name, so just call me Wasabi, and we can get this popping. Just a little bit of introduction. I am a certified sake sommelier. I got certified about, 2 years ago, about. So I was very happy about that. So I can now drink in confidence, which is great. I also do sake brewery consulting. I consult with sake breweries to help them digitalize, and also with the global marketing, because that's not their strongest point. Just a quick history of myself. I've been in sake business for about 7 years, and before COVID, I was actually doing a sake brewery tour guide, where I tour people around sake brewery, drink with them and have a good time, right? And after COVID, because everything was stopped, I actually became a online sake event guide. And I've been in the one platform, and very thankfully, I'm actually the biggest and oldest online sake event in the world right now, and I've hosted about 2,000 people so far. Awesome. So with that being said, Tori, if you would, I want you to grab your Jumai Dai Ginjo, and if you don't know what it means, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I just want to cheers, right?
Perfect.
So let's do this. So in Japanese, we say kanpai for cheers. So, Tori, if you're ready.
Ready.
Well, kanpai to you.
Kanpai.
Coming.
Awesome.
All right. So I know you're drinking Jumai Daiginjo, and I'll talk about sake just a little bit, and then we'll get into the pairing of wasabi popcorn. Okay. But let me just talk about what kanpai means briefly. So in Japanese, we write kanjis like this. Kan actually means to dry, and a pai means a glass. So kanpai actually means to dry your glass, but you don't gotta do that, okay? I know sake is very strong, but you don't have to take a shot. This sake is a sipping drink. Now, just a little bit about what sake is, but in this, Tori, I know you're a big wine guru as well, right? So if you could help me with that, that would be great, all right? And I'm gonna be asking you about 3 questions.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so don't be nervous. What is the main ingredients of wine?
Grapes.
Oh, hey, that wasn't too bad, was it, right? Yes.
Kanpai.
There you go. Wine is based on grape, everybody knows that. But sake is based on 4 main ingredients. Rice, water, something called koji, which is the type of mold, and yeast. I'm not gonna get into much detail, but difference is the ingredients, right? And because wine is based on grape, wine has 2 main taste characteristics, which is a bitterness and astringency. When sake is based on rice, sake is basing sweetness and savoriness, right? So that would be the taste of the main difference between these two alcohol.
Mhm.
So quite surprisingly, sake also pairs with a lot of different food. And today we'll be doing that. We'll be trying that with your new popcorn, the wasabi flavor.
Awesome.
All right. Well, next question for you, Tori. And this is gonna be interesting. What is the average alcohol contents of wine?
Ooh, average of all varietals.
Old varietal, but I want to go with old school, old world, meaning
Oh.
Spanish, French, those.
Okay, I'm gonna say old world is probably 10, 11%. That's my guess.
Pretty good, very good. 11 to 13% is the kind of the average alcohol contents there. And I say old world because in the new world, alcohol tends to be higher. For example, California wine, those goes up to 14, 15%, right? But comparing that with sake, sake actually is stronger. Sake averages around 15 to 16%. So let's say wine is 11% and sake is 16%. In an alcohol perspective, one sake bottle equals to 1.5 bottles of wine, which means we can get you there quicker, right? But that's the one another good thing about sake there. Awesome. All right, so one last difference about sake, which is different from wine. And to me, this is the most interesting difference there. Now, let's say, Tori, you go to fancy French restaurant, right? You guys all suited up, look great. You sit on a private table, and you are given a wine list. You open up the wine list. You see the wine varying from $20 a bottle, all the way up to 5,000, 6,000, easy, maybe, right? I don't know how rich you are, but I don't know what kind of restaurant you go to, but wine goes up, right?
Yeah.
According to my wine sommelier friend, there are 3 distinctive questions you could ask about wine to find out the value of wine.
Okay.
What are those 3 questions?
Ooh, we're gonna make these up. I'm gonna say one is varietal.
Varietal of what?
The actual what type of grape they're using, what varietal.
Very good. Yes. One is the type of grape. Very good. 2?
2, I'm gonna say is the vintage, the year. That'll be
very good. So to be specific, vintage, very correct, which means when was the grape harvested, right? To give you an example, French Chardonnay, 1988, horrible year, but 1989, great year, right? So depending on the year, grapes quality is different. Therefore, when was the grape harvested? Very important.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Last one?
Last one's gonna be location, right?
Hey, sounds like we already rehearsed it. That's good. Awesome. So where was the grape harvested? Very, very good. So let's review those 3 questions again, shall we? What type of grape is it? When was the grape harvested? And where was the grape harvested, right? So you see the pattern. Wine is a lot about grape. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. When you go to winery tour, you always see the vineyard, right? Where grape is grown. You always see how grape is raised, what kind of climate, how often they water or do not water, what kind of soil, that kind of stuff, right? So grape is very, very important. When I asked my sommelier friend, he says about 70% of wine's value is determined by grape, like where, when, and which kind, right? And when it comes to sake, though, it's a little different. We focus a lot more on the production process. And these are just differences between 2 different alcohol, right? I'm not saying which is better or which is worse. I'm just saying that when you go to fancy sake restaurant, you want to ask about the production process to keep the conversation going. When you go to fancy French restaurant, you ask about grape, right? So which we care more is different between the alcohol. And this, I think, is really interesting difference between wine and sake. All right. So with that being said, let me just briefly, very briefly, because I don't have time to talk about every single production process today, unfortunately. But today, let me talk about something called rice polishing process. What is rice polishing process? As you see on the screen, we polish or we grind rice grain down to smaller percentage, right? And rice polishing ratio or rice remaining ratio means how much we polish the rice grain down to. So you see on the scale, rice polishing ratio 90% far left means we are polishing it down to 90% and we are throwing away the outer layer of 10%. When 30% rice polishing ratio means we are polishing it down to 30% and we are throwing away the outer layer of 70%, right? Now, I know that sounds real technical. Why are you talking about the wasabi, right? But I'll make it worse. These rice polishing ratio has the direct correlation to the pricing of sake. So in my sake brewery, or when I say my, the sake brewery that I work for, 60% rice polishing ratio sake goes for about $15 $15 a bottle, when 35% goes for $60 a bottle. Last Saturday, when I went to a sake fair, which sounds like heaven, I saw a sake which rice polish ratio was 0.885%, right? And that was about $4,000 a bottle.
Wow.
Right? So rice polishing ratio has that direct correlation of how a expensive or cheap sake will be.
Yeah.
Right? So just a little sake pro tip here. When you go to a fancy Japanese restaurant and a waiter come out, and he goes, we have a very special sake for you. It's $20 a glass, which in Japan is very expensive. I don't know about y'all, but in Japan, very expensive. You want to ask about rice polishing ratio.
Got it.
If he doesn't know that, he shouldn't sell you $20 a glass sake. But if he says, wow, you know a lot about sake, it is 30% refined sake, then it kind of makes sense to pay that much amount, right? So rice polishing ratio has direct correlation with the pricing of sake, right?
Got it.
With that being said, let me just talk briefly about the category of sake. Now, you don't have to memorize all this. And I know it is divided in 6, but in Japan, it's actually 10 categories. But 10 sounds very complicated. I want to make it simple. So let's do 6 today, right? But if you know 6, you are covered for about 80% of sakes out there. So I think we are good, right?
Yeah.
So this 6 is divided by rice polishing ratio, which we talked about, 60% and up, between 60 and 50%, and a 50% and below. And also if sake is pure or distilled alcohol added sake. So kind of like fortified wine, right?
Got it.
And each category represents different kind of characteristics. The one you are drinking, Tori, is Jumai Dai Ginjo, which has the smoothest touch and also the highest aroma contents as far as the category goes, right? And farther down to left you go, boldness and heaviness of sake comes out.
Mhm.
So in a sense, you could say one on the right-hand side of this chart is more towards the characteristics of white wine.
Mhm.
One on the left-hand side is more towards the characteristics of the red wine,
Yeah.
right? And also, a little bit of the sake pro tip number 2. If you see something called rice meter value or sake meter value in the back label of your sake, and if there's a number goes for the positive side, it's a dry sake. So if it's +1, it's dry. It's +10, it's drier, right? Again, if it's in the minus side, meaning -1, sweet, -10, sweeter. So these actually are how to read the label of sake.
Do you have a label to show on camera? I'm like wondering if
I do.
an example.
It'll be in Japanese though, so let's see how.
Little arrow. Like.
So, oh, that won't do. Hold on.
Mhm.
So this will be in Japanese here, but I don't know if you can see it. There we go. So one on the far right is the category.
Okay.
Second one from the right is the alcohol percent, which is 16%.
Okay.
And what kind of rice is used. And the far left is the rice polishing ratio, which is 55%.
Got it. I can show mine too with English. And mine's kind of interesting. It kind of writes it out at the bottom.
Right.
B, acidity, and the amino acid. For
and
this
SMV is the sake meter value right there.
Got it.
So plus 1.9, which is a little dry.
Yeah.
Right.
Not crazy.
Not too crazy dry. Correct.
Awesome.
Good. So that's how you read the label. And let me also talk just a little bit about the wasabi, since we'll be doing the tasting of wasabi popcorn, right?
Perfect.
All right. So, what is wasabi? It's a root. The picture you see on the right hand side, you see the root with the stem and the leaf coming out of it, right? Yeah. We use just the root part as a wasabi paste, right? And in Japan, we do eat stems and leaves as well. We make like stir fries or pickles, but mainly the wasabi you see as a paste is the root version, grinded root of it, right? And quite surprisingly, we've been eating wasabi for about 1,500 years in Japan.
Wow.
So we've been eating it quite a bit. And I love the fact that you guys are using wasabi as a lot of the flavor in your popcorn, because that's a Japanese culture on the dot right there. And just a little bit of a Japanese restaurant tip, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you are going to fancy Japanese restaurant, right? There's the way you can see if they're doing a good job or not, right? By how they grind their wasabi. If they are using something looks like one on the right hand side, which actually is a shark skin grinder, they are fancy down to traditional Japanese restaurant there.
Got it.
If they are doing the wasabi grinding by the metal grinder, it's all right, but some says it loses the aroma of wasabi if you grind it on the metal. Okay. So best one they could use, or a top-notch one, would be shark skin grinder, right? So if you go to fancy Japanese restaurant, maybe you're paying a lot of money for it, you want to kind of see over the counter to see what kind of grinder they're using for wasabi. If they're using the one you see on the right-hand side, you're doing a good job.
Love it.
All right, cool. So with that being said, let's move on to the tasting part, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So when you give me these wasabi popcorn, I tried a couple times, and I thought that was phenomenal. And I came up with the 3 different pairings with that, right? Now, when you are doing sake pairing, here's what I want you to do. Sake is something called during the meal alcohol, right? So kind of like wine, you want to pair with the food. Yeah. The way you pair with food is that you want to chew food a couple times in your mouth, and then you wash it down or mix the sake within your mouth, and then enjoy the mixture of it, right? Mm-hmm. And also, to be very precise, after you swallow it, if you could breathe out from your nose, you could also enjoy the aroma very much.
Love that. Okay, perfect.
All right. So with that being said, first pairing that I'm gonna propose is the wasabi popcorn with Jumai dai Ginjo, right? Okay. So if you remember, Jumai dai Ginjo's characteristics: aroma high, very smooth, right?
Perfect.
And because your wasabi popcorn is very, very settled wasabi flavor, it's not overflowing or anything. It's very enjoyable. Yep. I want to pair by itself with the finest sake out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's try that.
So we've got mine. Mm-hmm. Here's a little Jumai.
And sorry, I got lazy and I got one of these.
The traditional way, and then we got the popcorn and the sake. So we do, you said a couple bites. We want to get the
couple bites. And mix it. And breathe out from your nose.
Yeah, I love that a lot.
Right, so the settled wasabi flavor with a little bit of saltiness goes very well with the Jumai dai Ginjo's little bit of the sweetness there, right? And then aroma of wasabi comes out from your nose with the aroma of Jumai dai Ginjo.
Love that. That's a great
now
right there.
Just a little sake tip as well there. Sake smell is divided into 2 big categories, right? They are more, but there's 2 big categories: banana category and the apple category, right? So apple category is more drier, acidity kind of aroma, and a banana is more deeper, sweeter aroma, right? Yeah. And both of that pairs very well with wasabi. But if you could distinguish between which aroma that your Jumai dai Ginjo has, or maybe the viewers Jumai dai Ginjo, you are one step closer to becoming your sake sommelier there.
Love it. That's the goal. We're going to be a wine sommelier. We're going to be a sake sommelier. You know, that's the goals out here.
Awesome.
You're going to make also, I don't know if you can touch on this. I don't know, so when I went to Japan with you, got these awesome, beautiful sake glassware. So I don't know if there's anything we can touch on, you know, from and tradition and such.
Sure. So let me briefly talk about that using this chart that we used, right? So I'm going to talk about hot sake first, because as you said, Tori, in the beginning, these actually are meant for hot sake, right? You could use it for cold sake, but traditionally speaking, these are meant for hot sake. Now, I know I'm breaking the rule because I'm drinking cold sake in this, but
so am I. We don't, you know, it's okay.
Sake has no rule, right? But traditionally speaking, now, the question I ask a lot is, which sake should I heat up? Which sake should I chill, right? Now, I actually already answered the question. So let's look at the chart. On the right-hand side, more of the white wine. While on the left-hand side, more of the red wine, right? Yep. Now, Tori, tell me, do you chill your white wine?
We chill the white and we keep it room temp.
Very good. So exact same principle applies to sake. So that means on the right-hand side sake, Jumai dai Ginjo, probably Jumai Ginjo and Ginjo as well. So first 2 of the right would be chilled, treated like white wine. Yeah. One on the left-hand side, so Jumai or Honjozo, you could chill those, you could drink it at room temperature, or you want to heat it up, right? So in Germany, I think there's a heated red wine, right? There's like hot wine.
Old wine. Old wine.
There you go. There you go. So kind of like that. So if you think about these categories, and if you know right hand side white wine, left hand side red wine, you know what to do with the sake temp.
Love
But interesting about sake is that any temperature, Jumai and Honjozo could hold.
Okay.
And also Jumai and Honjozo, which is the left-hand side one, these give you different aroma, different flavor in each different temperature.
Okay. Got it.
So another way to enjoy sake is to try with different temperature, right? But the golden rule is that left-hand side, you could heat it, right-hand side, you want to chill.
Got it. Love that. Super easy.
There you go.
Everyone. Perfect.
And also, just to touch onto the design there, right? And Tori, you are having the one that is the right on the official one. You see two blue circles at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
The reason you see this is to, when you pour the sake, you can see the clarity, and also you can see the color of sake, right?
I didn't. Okay.
So if you pour it in, if it's a little yellowish, that might be a little bit aged. If it's cloudy, obviously it's cloudy, so you can tell, right? And because we don't use wine glass, we don't do one of these, right? But we use these to see the color and the clarity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
And also, if you see two circles, according to my sake master, you are not drunk enough. So
that's the best tip right there.
All right, so let's move on to the next pairing. And I'm getting a little adventurous there, right? So with the Jumai Ginjo, let's try it. What I want you to do is get a popcorn, put just a little bit of cream cheese on there.
Okay.
And then pop it in your mouth, and then pair with the Jumai Ginjo.
Okay.
And before freaking anybody out,
You're down for them?
Wasabi and cheese actually pairs extremely well. Okay.
You want just cream cheese, or are we doing?
Just cream cheese, please.
Okay.
Just and Jumai Ginjo. Now, Jumai Ginjo, comparing with the Jumai Dai Ginjo, a little bit harsher, right? Meaning a little more sting on your tongue, but you feel the taste more, right? You can taste it more. So in wine languages, medium body would be the word I would use, right? And because of that, it would sustain the cheese. And also, wasabi and cheese pairs extremely well.
I love that. That's fun.
The Jumai Ginjo you're drinking, Wandering Poet, it has I think melony flavor or melony aroma, which also helps with the sweetness of cream cheese, and then give you just a little bit hint of the wasabi at the end.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, right. And then this flavor, which also, this is the packaging, if anyone's curious.
Wasabi.
A little green all around. And what's our little caption? Who says you can't put popcorn on sushi? So
there you go. There you go. There you go.
Have it, explore, have fun with it, have a little spice. Eating.
Exactly. All right, so that's the second pairing that I would suggest. And if you want to be like really adventurous, you could actually do a popcorn, wasabi popcorn, little bit of cream cheese, and maybe even with just a little bit of honey on there as well. Would be actually pretty good as well. But we don't have time to do that, so let's not do that today. Maybe the viewers to do it. Right.
As an option.
There you go.
Love
okay.
It.
And who said you cannot put sushi on popcorn sushi, right? So let's do one last pairing that I'm becoming very adventurous. And I want to be kind of experimental, right? So wasabi popcorn, a little bit of cream cheese,
Okay.
right? And then I want you to give a maybe 2-3 drops of soy sauce on there.
Okay. So a little cream
It's
cheese.
the Jumai sake.
Just a little dab.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun little combo right there.
Not too savvy. Well, I mean, wasabi and soy sauce goes extremely well, right?
If we're gonna do sushi rolls and wasabi, you know, you're gonna do a little topping, you're gonna put some soy sauce on it. So this absolutely makes so much sense.
There you go. And also the Jumai, not too much aroma on there, but the Jumai has a very big body. And that body is not bitter or sour. It's actually sweeter note, right?
Yeah.
And so that will actually kind of calms everything down and put everything in one piece.
And this is the one I went with today.
To Jumai sake, extremely good sake to pair.
Yes. Absolutely delicious. This is so fun.
Right. So just briefly talk about sake pairing techniques here, right? So we actually have 4 different ways to pair sake with food. Or techniques to pair sake with food. 1, agreement, wash, suppress, and a marriage are the 4 techniques, right? So I'll talk about one by one. And we actually applying multiple techniques to what we just did. Number 1, agreement. Agreement, the very good example of agreement is big red wine with big red steak. So you are actually agreeing the degree of food, right? And because wasabi popcorn, very subtle, very light, I want to first pair with the Jumai Ginjo, which is light and very subtle, right?
Yeah.
That's the agreement. Number 2, wash. What is wash? Best way to describe that is a fried chicken with beer. So fried chicken, oily, beer, wash it out from your tongue. That's the wash, right? I didn't use too much of wash technique in my pairing today because your popcorn is not too oily, which is a great thing, obviously. But if its food is oily, you could apply that techniques to pair with the alcohol, right? The wash. Number 3, suppression, which is very, very sake unique. Let me talk about that. When you eat sushi, you drink sake. Let's talk about why. Sake, sushi, even though it's cured perfect, you use fresh fish, it's still fishy because it's fish, obviously, right? Suppression is the sake unique pairing technique, which sake suppress the unfavorable smell or sense of the food, which I apply to the cheese, right? So cheese is also obviously cheese, and cream cheese is very subtle, but there are some stinky cheese out there, right? So blue cheese, camembert, all that, right? These actually pairs with sake extremely well because of the suppression technique. So we suppress the unfavorable smell and we actually turn that into umami flavor. That's the suppression technique of sake, right? So I would say, I don't want to say anything stinky, but the blue cheese, camembert, those actually pairs extremely well with sake. And in this case, I used cream cheese, right? And the reason I didn't use too heavy of cheese like blue cheese is that I didn't want to kill the flavor of the popcorn, right? So I used cream cheese here, right? And number 4, marriage, which is, I think, is the most difficult technique. Marriage is taking A and B and turning into C, something very different. Give you one example, Japanese sweet omelet with Jumai sake marries this into a taste of pudding or custard pudding, right? So that's the marriage. It's very difficult to do, but these are the 4 techniques I use or we should use to pair sake with food. Wash, suppression, agreement, and marriage, right?
Love that.
right? So if you think about it, there's multiple ways to actually pair sake with anything. And today I used wasabi popcorn, which was great pairing. So thank you for this opportunity, Tori. Appreciate that.
Thank you. This was amazing. We got great pairings to share with everyone. It's a great option to go with wasabi. As you said, it's really light. It's not oily. Of course, that's just not what we do. But when you eat it, it has that nice little tingle burn at the end, but enough where I can eat this whole bowl by myself and be just fine and tell the tale about it. It's not gonna kill me like if I went and got sushi and did a whole thing of it. So thank you so much for everything, and super excited for our next steps and whatever else we come up with in the future.
Sound good. Count me in.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye, y'all.